The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other great shows such as The Ectoplasm Show and AB Film Review, over at podbros.com. And now get ready to share and enjoy the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's going off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 98 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
And today we will be talking Stranger Things, part one of our two-part episode of covering this pretty fantastic show. Joining us again, or rejoining us, I should say, is Janelle Meghan Engel. Hello, Janelle.
Hey, it's so good to be back.
Yeah, it's a very nice to have you back. I knew we were definitely wanting to have you back on here at some point, and took a little longer, but I'm happy we got you back for what is hopefully some very good episodes here. So, yeah, no pressure.
Well, I'm obsessed with Stranger Things, so this is going to be good.
Absolutely, yeah. I kind of figured. So, let's get this out of the way up front here. Where can people find you online? What are you up to? What's going on?
Sure, you can find me at Janelle Meghan on Twitter and Instagram, and pretty much my main priority right now is I've been filming for this web series that's going to be out in January called Eclipse. I play a half cat, half woman, and it basically follows these. Kind of similar to Stranger Things in the way that it's kind of about these younger kids who get mixed up in these kind of like interdimensional superhero, superpower type world, except it all occurs in one day. And it's going to be out January 20th. And my character kind of like leads them to this path of defeating the big bad, so to speak.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I've seen some of the photos pop up on Twitter. It looks pretty incredible. So.
Yeah, and I would be remiss, since I'm a Skyrim fan, if I didn't ask, do you have wares during the show? Or was that...
Do I have what?
Wares. It's the Skyrim thing is the sort of half cat, half humanoid people are called Kaji, and they are like the merchants of Skyrim. So it's a joke that basically fell completely flat, and I'm going to leave it all in.
I was going to say that's what editing is for, but okay, Paul's going to let it hang. Good for you, Paul. Good for your transparency.
I have left in so many times where you have said, you're going to cut this out. Nope, no, I never do, and I'm not going to do it.
This is why I don't listen to the episodes.
To be fair, for the half cat, half woman jokes, there's a lot you could have made, so that one, that wasn't the worst.
There is a lot that I could have made, however, I'm me. So, no, I wouldn't have made any other joke.
Yeah, so yes, there was only one that he could have made, and that was the one he made. Okay. Well, let's try to dive into the subject at hand. Paul, do you have any nuts and bolts for this, or where are we kicking this thing off?
Well, I
know Netflix is pretty notoriously closed off about their numbers.
Basically, the only thing I can say is it was created by the Duffer Brothers, and that's about it. I haven't. I probably could have gone to the episode list and written down all of the directors, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah, and the cast list. There's so many that we'll just talk about them as they come up, because they will pretty much all come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know we need to hit on a few, big ones, but yeah.
There's also some great guest stars in this show, too. Like, not just the main characters, but, like, some of the guest stars are just so good.
And, yes, like I was remiss to say, if you're new to joining us, this is one of your first times out with Blokebusters, we do talk spoilers. Assuming you've probably seen Stranger Things, at least season 1 if you're tuning into this, but we might be making mentions of season 2 here and there. You've been warned. Okay.
Yes.
That's out of the way. So because you said guest
You've
stars,
been
and
warned.
so I just wanted, because season 2 is really where we get going with some guest stars. Yeah, but we'll to be continued on that.
All right. So I guess probably a good way to start would be to just say as quickly as we can kind of how we came across it and what our first thoughts were.
Go ahead, Paul. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm
getting the machinery going, so yeah, while that fires up, you go ahead.
Well, I remember pretty much the same way I find out about a lot of the stuff Netflix is doing. I believe this was a Facebook post that I saw where it was like, Netflix is doing 80s sort of horror series, and I was like, well, yes, your idea is intriguing to me, and I was just subscribed to your newsletter. And so I kind of followed it as it was coming. I saw a couple of trailers, and it's like, this looked really good, and also the trailers don't appear to be showing any real spoilers, which is one of my biggest pet peeves of the modern times, is you can't watch a trailer anymore because you're just going to end up finding out everything about the film or TV series, I suppose. And yeah, I basically came to this just knowing that it was going to be fairly homage-y to a lot of early to mid 80s films, as well as apparently being quite well acted. That was pretty much the only review I heard, was that there was a lot of good acting and phenomenal work done, especially by the kids. So that's kind of how I came to it, and I will say that I pretty much agree overall, without going too far into it. So, Brian, have you got the machinery going fast enough, or do we need to throw it?
It's going as good as it's going to go here. I did not sleep well the previous evening, but I will not lean on that crutch too hard here. So I was trying to remember. I can't recall if it was a friend recommendation or if I just saw it I think I first saw it scrolling through Netflix, but I for some reason didn't stop on it, and then I do believe someone said, I think it was like a couple days later, everyone was watching it. My friend said, you got to watch this, and then it was just off to the races. It was, I'm not a great binger for the most part. I'm good for about 3 or 4 hour episodes of a show, and then I kind of need to mix it up, take a break. This was, I think, watched in 1.5 seats. I think it was like 6 episodes, and then finished it off with 2 like the next day. So yeah, it was like
almost binge.
Almost binge the whole entire thing. Yeah, and yes, I have been singing its praises ever since.
Yeah, very similar for me. I think it was like a heavily talked about show, and a lot of my friends were recommending it to me. But I personally don't really like shows with kids in them, so I stayed away from it for a really long time because I thought it'd be cheesy with like bad kid actors and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I was definitely completely wrong. Some of the best acting, these kids are just incredible. And when I finally watched it, I was just blown away. And I'd actually, I was supposed to go to a party the night that I started the first episode, just kind of like something in the background. And I ended up canceling my plans and staying home to watch it and finish the entire thing that night because I could not stop.
Well, that says it all right there.
Exactly.
There are a few times where I'm kind of like, I wish I could just put the rest of my life on hold for a minute and just kind of sit down and do that. But yes, unfortunately, I no longer have that much freedom when it comes to watching TV. But even with that, obviously we'll talk about it more on Thursday, but the second season was very much I found time in the morning to watch it. So whereas this one was like my evening watch, so I managed to get through an episode or 2 at a time. So yeah, it's very, very fun to watch, and I think we're about to get into why. So where do you think we should start then?
I mean, I think just a little table setting. For just to refresh anyone, this is November 6th, I believe, was I want to say. I know it's 1983, right. But in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. So 80s Midwest, just to kind of refresh everyone there. And probably, I mean, I wish I had other examples to pull from right now, but probably the some of the best opening characterization I've seen in recent memory. It's one of those great lessons. Of course, I'm talking about the D&D scene.
Yeah.
It's one of those just great moments of show, don't tell. Let's show who these kids are. We don't need that. You get everything you need to know in that 4 minutes, whatever it is. And it's just a great bit of setting for who these characters are, and on a larger scale of where this show is going to go.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a really good pilot. I think the pilot in general is just one of the best pilots.
Absolutely, yeah. It's designed, I think, that way, and it's it pulls you in from that opening, that cold open, and into then the captivating theme, of course. And then it's, I don't know who can turn it off at that point.
Yeah,
but you ain't no friend of mine.
Absolutely.
It like you said, with the characterization, when you get to know the people, you realize, of course, Mike is going to be the DM. Of course he is. That's the type of person he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Will is going to be
the wizard,
the wizard healer type thing. I mean, you don't get to delve into his character too much in this series, but even what little you do know about him based on what they say about him during the series, it's of course that's who he is. And then, of course, you got Dustin and Lucas, who, as you see at the beginning, that is who they are. And that's kind of the way it is with kids in general, is that there's not a lot of hiding behind a character, really. They are who they are. And it was really nice just to jump straight in with them.
Yeah. And I would like to just... Yeah, go ahead.
I can't think of any other way you would have started this show.
Having seen it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was just going to say, I would just like to just talk about Dustin for the rest of this recording. So, if everyone's on board for that? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, I know we'll get there, but I don't want to rush into it. Yes. I know it's a predictable fave, but and then he gets to really shine in season 2, of course. But I know this is kind of centered around Mike and 11, but for me, he was the leader of this group. He is the moral center, I think, and the kind of leader as far as getting people on the same page and making amends and just really kind of snapping people into shape. I don't know. I don't know. I love him.
Yeah. You instantly liked him?
Not instant. I mean, maybe not on that first watch. This is my third run through before this episode. And the past two, I've liked him, and maybe it's a little bit revisionist history with how much I liked him in season 2. So I'll admit to some of that. That could be playing into it. So you didn't like him off the bat?
I didn't like him at first, but through the second watch, you really notice all his character traits, and he has such great one-liners that are just for a kid, he nails them so well. His comedic timing is just it's just insane.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah. He is a great character. He's also one of those characters that if this was a teen horror film, or if this was an adult show, he would be annoying. Because he would be he would be played by, if this was adults playing him, I think he would be played by Jack Black. He would be the highly energetic, come on guys, we could do this type thing. But as a kid and portrayed by, and I should have looked up how to pronounce his name. Is it Gaten?
No, it's Gaten. Yeah, you got Gaten.
Yeah.
Matarazzo, probably.
Yeah, I think you got it.
He just becomes that person who is kind of he's not the heart, but I would say he's definitely almost the soul of the party, because he is the one that is trying to keep everyone together and to remind everyone you are friends during all this, because there's a lot of friendships coming close to breaking point during this show, and he's the one that's always guys, we're friends. Let's remember that.
Yeah, and those later episodes when you guys get Mike and
Lucas.
Mike and Lucas, back together to kind of squash their beef. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole scene where he's like, "No, I know he's your best friend," and like he's fine with it. Like it just warms my heart. Like he just has such a sweetheart.
Yeah, he's like mature beyond his years, and and I know we're getting ahead. We'll get there Thursday, but I just love that we got to see the relationship with his mom. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get there.
I almost want to question. I don't mean mums, but again, we'll get to it.
Yes, yeah. Uh-huh. So what's kind of going on in this show, Paul? I know we're just kind of talking around it.
Yes, we are.
Some talk of some evil Department of Energy, something like that.
kind of basic plot here is pretty much as you would expect from, say, an 80s film. You've got these kids are growing up near a laboratory, which everyone kind of knows about, but they don't exactly know how shadowy this laboratory is, which is United States Department of Energy, but really they're doing paranormal stuff like what's the name of the actual project that existed, and then they kind of went off from that. I can't.
Oh, the Montauk
the MK
Project?
Ultra.
MK Ultra, yes.
Yeah, and Montauk. Yeah, the Montauk Project. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically that, but if it had kind of succeeded, that's what you're dealing with here, and so you got the wonderful Papa. And when I say wonderful, I mean the one that you want to punch in the face every time he's on screen.
The wonderfully played Dr. Martin Brenner by Matthew Modine.
Yes.
Yeah, he's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. I don't think there's a single character in this show that isn't done well. But so effectively something's going wrong, and we don't really know what it is, and something's escaped, shall we say? And
yes,
and
and I would like you to say laboratory at least a couple more times in this podcast.
Okay. All right then.
Where did it escape from?
So something had escaped from the Hawkins National Laboratory, and what has escaped?
Sounds so nice in the ears, Janelle.
Yes. Okay. And what has escaped from said laboratory is something that has taken Will Byers, and that is after the D&D scene, and he is taken very, very early on in the first episode, and that's kind of all we see of him for the most part until the last episode. So,
unless I don't know, does he get credits as a ball of lights? I don't know.
I wouldn't put it
past scene appearance
to do that in the credits.
A lot of voiceover for Will.
Yes, some of the best light bulb acting you're gonna see.
I would almost expect that not Finn, for God's sake, now I'm messing up doing it that way, that Noah was on set controlling the lights. Like, he would be the one to press the button.
Hey, if that makes you happy, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
It just seems like something they would do.
Just so he can really get in his character.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, so we do find out that there is a kind of monster, and again, a monster that is not seen much. And
we do get a flash of him in the. I mean, it is covered in shadow, but the Demagorgon in that opening scene on the road. I mean, but it's only it's not even a full second. I don't think that you see him on the road. That causes him to crash his bike.
Yeah,
you see him in the window. That's the creepiest part when he looks through the window and he's there. That's the part that always gave me the chills.
Yeah, and I don't know if you kind of get it when you're watching it. I mean, it might even be a subconscious thing, or it could be incredibly obvious, and this isn't going to be a shock at all. But the very clear ET vibes from the way some of the shots are set up, especially with the flashlights in the woods, or with him actually running across the back garden to get to the shed. Like there's a shot pretty much identical to that in E.T. and it's
yeah, and bookmark that E.T. For season 2. We'll I'll get into some thoughts and theories on at least on let's just say this series is chock full of homages to classic 80s and I think mostly 80s films and a lot of Spielberg-esque type movies.
Yes,
but,
which I think is part of the reason why this show has done so well is because obviously it's a really cool plot and all that, but it just kind of feels like you've seen it before. Like it's sort of familiar but not, and I think they kind of nails the level of homage that you can do without just flat out copying.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's, instead of like a flat-out remake or anything, they really just pulled like the best stuff and created something new, but still has that familiar nostalgic feeling. And I haven't really seen that done before. Yeah,
it's one of there's kind of mixed on this film, but it's one of the reasons I love the film Super 8 with JJ. It is a unapologetic love letter to Spielberg, and directly E.T., but I love so much how he pays tribute to that. I mean, and that is definitely way more on the nose than this is. But yeah, it's like David S. Pumpkins, this is its own thing. So, okay, that's for the SNL people out there. That might have hit as well or worse than your joke, Paul, earlier. But
oh, I'm sure it hit.
We'll see if there's SNL listeners out there. Okay. Yeah. So I'm recovering from that. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And obviously I would say the 3 kind of main characters that we haven't really touched on yet. You've got Winona Ryder as Joyce, and
yes, Winona Ryder.
I hadn't really seen Winona Ryder in pretty much anything outside of Beetlejuice, I think.
For real? I mean, I need to stop being shocked by what you haven't seen. we do this every episode, Janelle.
Pretty much.
Really? You haven't seen this? Really? I
mean, I'm sure I have seen something else that she's been in.
No Edward Scissorhands? No Girl Interrupted?
Okay.
Dracula? I'm sorry, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
The other ones you said no.
Reality Bites?
Nope, haven't seen that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. She was in Alien Resurrection, so technically I've seen that.
She is fantastic in Mr. Deeds. I will say.
I completely forgot she was in that. So okay.
Yeah.
I forgot she was in that too. Wow.
Yeah. She's the reporter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not the first movie that pops in my head when I think of her.
Well, it should be, okay? You're wrong.
Obviously, our performance really stuck with you. I apologize.
Well, it's an Adam Sandler film. You're just looking for anything to grab your attention, So, yeah. And Star Trek. You saw her in Star Trek as Spock's mom.
Okay, come on. I would remember that.
I don't know. You have a great memory, Paul. So yeah.
Yes, but I do not have a good memory for faces, as you well know.
Okay. So. Yeah. All right. Okay. So all right, you're off the hook there. But I did have to look up that one. That was the only one I cheated on to look up there. But, but this is just so great for Winona.
Oh, she's incredible in this.
Go ahead.
I can't imagine, just from an actor's perspective, how emotionally exhausting it must have been through her role, just, constantly. Everyone else on set was probably having a good time behind the scenes, but, she constantly had to be in a state of either panic or, fear or sadness or just despair, just constantly. And I'm sure that was exhausting.
Well, I was just going to say that it led to one of my favorite memes of the year, which is just 4 screenshots from the show, and it just says anxiety level Winona Ryder in every scene she's in Stranger Things.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
I feel that. Yeah, too much and too often, but yeah, I was just gonna say that whatever the Demagorgon didn't destroy in the house, she destroyed with her scene chewing, and I loved every second of it. I mean, I will say for the first time when she really started to lose it, my first watch through, I thought it was a bit much, but then I really, really enjoyed it. And thought it was just, no, this is perfect for what this show is. I thought it was a little too ham-fisted and stuff, but no, I was wrong, and it's great.
Well, I mean, again, that's kind of the thing. If you're trying to get the vibe of the sort of 80s horror / like thriller type thing, that there's always someone who is a little over the top, or who is just like, as they chewing the scenery, and they happen to get someone that was able to do both like genuinely good acting along with being able to push it a bit for some of the scenes. So yeah, that worked out quite well, I thought.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could see I could see moments where it would be kind of looking like too much, but I feel like it's always grounded in this very real fear and this very real of like, I need to get my son back. That makes it kind of work for me.
And we've also got the fantastic David Harbour as Jim Hopper.
Yes, it's embarrassing how long it took us to get to David Harbour, but yes. Top.
I've been waiting to mention him this whole time. Like, all of my notes are about him.
I'm drinking some Miller Lite in honor of Hop. I couldn't find some Schlitz, but I wasn't going to stop at multiple shitty gas stations to find Schlitz, so here's some Miller Lite for you, David Harbour.
Cheers.
Hopper, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I love his introduction. Like, in the very first episode, he brushes his teeth and then immediately smokes and has a beer. Like, that says everything about his character.
Yes. And then poor Sandra. We don't get to see Sandra anymore. If anyone remembers who Sandra was or is, she's in it for like 30 seconds. And you kind of got the vibe that maybe it was a girlfriend, but apparently he's just a player. I don't know, because we have that library scene later where he gets called out on not returning a call or something, something along those lines.
And I mean, I genuinely, the first time I watched it, I thought, just based on that scene alone and how he kind of interacted, it's like, is he new to town? Like, has he only been here a little bit? But then it's clear he'd been there a while, so
I think
like
he
he's
grew
been
up
there a few years. Okay.
He grew up there because he has a relationship with Joyce, or like a past with Joyce. I don't know if it was a relationship or what they were specifically, but then he went to New York and then came back. That was my understanding of it.
Yeah. After his daughter, spoiler there. So
yes, and there is actually, I'm sure at least one of you either caught it or might have read something about it. There is something connected to his daughter that is a really, really, really subtle thing that they did, and it pays off hugely at the end of season 2. So I'll bring it back up then when we talk about it. But
I don't forget. I'm gonna write it down too.
I will not, because it is one of, when I realized it's something I really want to talk about. So we will touch on it.
I think I know what you're talking about, so I'm really curious now.
We shall see.
Yes, we shall. And so, we'll talk about Hopper a bit more, but the last name here, and pretty much as far as I'm concerned, the reason to watch the show is Millie Bobby Brown as 11, or L. So, yeah.
Or
what do we think
or
about
Ellen, or Ellen, as your in-laws probably thought she was called?
Yes, probably.
Ellen.
Ellen. That Ellen was great.
That bald Ellen girl.
So, yes, what do we think about 11?
I would give her an 11.
There we go.
That doesn't deserve anything, but yeah, obviously, breakout performance, and I hope so much that she, for all of them, but especially for her, because I think she's probably going to get the biggest roles in the future. Who knows? But I just hope that she gets to have a somewhat normal childhood and not too many leechers on her, because she seems like she has an amazing head on her shoulders, and I'm just get really worried about child actors like that, but because she's amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, based solely on watching all of the kids in interviews and stuff, like this seems like it's a group of incredibly well-adjusted child actors, like insanely smart for their age. And
if you watch that after show, did you watch the after show, Janelle, for season 2?
I watched the first episode of it, but I didn't finish it.
Okay.
But I definitely loved hearing like their perspective of the character, especially this Millie's perspective of 11 was really, really interesting just from that first episode of some of the things that she was saying, and the fact that she can understand characters that deep, and really you can tell that she's going to work for a very long time, I would assume, in Hollywood.
I would agree. Yeah, and you just, like Paul's saying, you see how well-adjusted that they are. Which isn't always the case.
And there have been several things that if you just watch interviews with them in general, and people will ask the incredibly stupid questions that everyone asks at every interview, and they just have the best responses. Like, I think someone asked Millie Bobby Brown if she knows that she has an accent, and she was like, "Well, yes, I was born with it." Like, well, and how did you get that? I lived in England. Like, that's like, well, of course, that's how you get the English accent, because you're English. It's,
or you're Madonna.
Yes, an anomaly, that one.
That's the only two ways, yeah.
So, that's most of the people that we would really need to introduce up front. There's the sister of Mike, Nancy, played by Natalia Dyer, and she is a kind of a not a lead role, but a good supporting role. Really, I would say, because she's sort of teetering on the edge, in my opinion, in the first season between lead and supporting. I know she's in it a lot, but she doesn't feel that much like a lead character. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I think she's a great B plot in this series. First with her and Steve, and then later with Jonathan. I don't feel like the action dips, or that my interest that I was losing interest in her part of the storyline at all. I thought she carried it really well. I don't know, Janelle, what did you think?
Yeah, I definitely liked that they had this combination of like the younger kids and the little bit older kids and like the adults. Like, I felt like seeing that really like broke up the story for me. And also, I mean, obviously justice for Barb. We all love Barb, and without Nancy, we would not get to meet Barb.
Hey, don't speak on my feelings about Barb, okay?
I have a lot of thoughts on Nancy, but they're more for her kind of character development in season 2.
Okay.
So I'll save that a little bit. But yeah, I think I like her a lot in season 1.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we mentioned Steve as the boyfriend.
Yes, Joe Keery. Fantastic. Oh, watch his online
he's
stuff.
So great.
He's hilarious. And yeah, this him and...
Well, in the show, I know on the show that he plays like this very like kind of like jock, like not like, I mean, you kind of would consider him in the first season like a little bit of an asshole, but because he was such a sweet guy, I read that they actually like rewrote the character so that he had a little bit more heart and was a little bit sweeter in the upcoming, like toward the end of season 1 and very much into season 2. He gets a lot of really great character development, and a lot of that was due to just like who he was in real life, the actor Joe Keery. So I thought that was really, really cool how the actor, had such a large influence on his character.
Yeah, you hear this story sometimes where like an actor does affect how the role's written, and I had heard that too. And yeah, my first watch through, I was obviously I already mentioned spoilers, but I was so pissed off that she went back to Steve at the end. I'm like, I didn't feel like he had a big enough redemptive arc in that first season.
Really?
Yeah.
You're Team Jonathan?
I'm Team Jonathan all the way.
No.
At least season 1. No spoilers for season 2 just yet. At that point, let me say, on the first watch, I was definitely Team Jonathan. This most recent watch, I was really conflicted because I do kind of like feel like he may have really seen how big of an ass he was being, and that he was just surrounded by a couple of douchebag friends, and who hasn't been a douchebag when they're 17, you know. So maybe being a little too hard on him. But I know we're jumping way ahead, but in that pretty much the final moments of the series when he asks if, you know, she gave him Jonathan the gift, and that seemed like genuine and sincere and really sweet. So I'll back off a little bit on Steve. So apologies.
I
you
will
better.
Okay, sorry. So Janelle's team Steve. That is clear.
Don't come for my man.
You're not a team. Take pictures of you undressing in the woods. Yeah.
Exactly. Jonathan's a creep.
But he's an artist, Janelle. He's an artist.
No.
He's a creepy artist.
And then Steve runs back in the house after Nancy tells him to go away. Like, sorry, I'm jumping way ahead now. But
yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say from Jonathan, there's that slight vibe of, if you've seen Inside Out, the imaginary boyfriend, I would die for it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, really, people need to look online at Joe Keery's videos. Janelle, are you familiar with Ben Schwartz from 30 Rock?
Yeah, they're like...
Okay, so there's there's this whole thing where they look and then they just have these videos together. They're hilarious. Just do some deep diving on that. You won't be disappointed.
I need to look into that. I did not know that was a thing. So,
oh god, yeah, it's good times. Really, it won't be a waste of your time, Paul. They're seem like I've always loved Ben Schwartz. Ever since John Ralphio.
on Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's that theory that
he's the worst. Yeah, go ahead.
There's that theory that Parks and Rec and Stranger Things are somehow connected because they're both in Indiana.
Yes. I love a crazy universe theory.
It's one of the craziest ones I've heard, but hey, I'll buy into anything.
I've heard it before. I can't remember how it goes, so I'm not going to try to attempt it. But yeah, I had heard something along those lines. Maybe
just look it up.
Exactly. Should we kind of get into back into some of the events going on in this here universe?
Yes, definitely.
So anyway, so Will gets taken, obviously, and then we have Winona, of course, understandably freaking out, and losing a couple phones in the process. Yes. On a limited budget. But I do love that scene in her workplace of just putting that dude in his place. Like, come on, just give me the effing credit. Come on, don't pull this shit. My kid's missing. What else is happening there? Yeah.
Well, and obviously you've got, how many different plot lines would you say you've got going through this? Because, like you said, you've got the adult plot line where you've got Winona Ryder and David Harbour kind of as a joint thing where they're looking for Will. And then you've got the kids are also looking for Will, but they then run into 11. So you've got that as well. And then you've got Nancy and Barb, which then turns into Nancy and Jonathan and Steve, kind of. It's obviously there's a little jumping around, but I think that probably the one that most people enjoyed the most out of those, reasonably, is the plot lines that had 11 in, because I felt that the kids and their reaction to 11, it was so wonderfully done, because you've got Mike, who very obviously kind of falls head over heels for her on first viewing. And then you've got Dustin, who is not fully understanding, but he's willing to kind of go along with it, especially since he becomes convinced that she will be able to help get Will back. And then you've got Lucas, who just absolutely doesn't want anything to do with 11 and clearly thinks that she is gonna be a blob monster and just kill them all or something. Like it's
Yeah, Lucas is just generally unlikable for like 6 of these 8 episodes, and it really bums me out.
I mean, he kind of has a point though. Like he's like, we don't need another problem. He's like, we went out to find Will. We didn't.
Yeah, he's very pragmatic.
Pick up something else. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He's the rational one for sure. Like
yeah, he's like, no, this is the party here. That's good. We don't need all of this telekinesis nonsense. You are the one that was thrown, 50 yards, and got knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it was kind of cool,
Even though it was cool.
Yeah, definitely very cool.
Second only to flipping a van, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we really are jumping all over the place.
Well, I kind of anticipated this because it's kind of hard to stick to the path here.
Yeah, there's so many storylines. It's really it's hard to like. Pin them down exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think what probably would be a good kind of anchoring point would be kind of jumping ahead to Barb and her fate, because
you read my mind. I'm like, we got to get to Barb. Okay.
Yeah, because we have. And obviously we're going over the plot for hopefully people that have seen it, so we are skipping it.
Hey, they've been warned, so
yes, they have.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've seen the Justice for Barb post everywhere.
Oh god!
But yeah, so the Demagorgon kind of you've sort of seen it kind of around, and 11 is understandably not really wanting to help out look for Will, and Winona Ryder's character is just getting more and more frustrated, and then Nancy convinces Barb, hey, let's go to a party. It'll be fun.
A party of 5 people?
A party Barb does not want to be at in the first place.
Yeah, fifth wheel. So. Mm-hmm.
And so there was actually something that I was trying to think about when I was watching it for the first time. I'm trying to put myself back in that mindset when I rewatched it. But I think that water was kind of what they seem to be going for, is like the theme with the Demagorgon, at least to begin with. They almost kind of just dropped it right at the end, but it really did seem like water was a major factor in it, especially since Barb ends up being taken at the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And you also see 11 needs to be submerged in water to kind of go into the upside down as much as she can without physically going.
Yeah. And I was focused more on kind of the Jaws reference of her blood chumming the waters.
Yes.
To lure the monster. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't made the parallel between the sensory deprivation tank that 11 went into, like, the monster coming through the water. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and I remember kind of thinking that, it's like, oh, this is going to be like really cool, and obviously they have Will's body appearing back in the lake as well, which we do find out is a red herring, but it kind of had that connection there, so I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing that they're doing. But yeah, Barb being taken was, I think, a fantastic move. Despite the fact that I really loved Barb, the character.
Was anyone shocked the first time they saw this, that the show went there with Barb?
I will say I was not necessarily shocked based on how the episode was going that Barb was taken, but yes, I was shocked that they went full into it and they just dispatched
Barb.
They went full Game of Thrones with it.
I definitely thought she'd come back at some point. I thought she'd come back, or there'd be at least somebody looking for her or something. So that part was that was more shocking than her actually leaving.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me, like, even as I know there's other stuff going on in this town and Demagorgons and whatnot, but it seems like people get over Barb pretty quickly.
Especially in a town where it's like, oh yeah, there's never any crime here, but like a lost teenager, no big deal.
No, Barb who? Yeah. And even her own mother, when like Nancy calls to ask, if Barb's been home, after Nancy is clearly caught in a lie, her mom's like, whatever. Like, no, I thought she was. No, wasn't she like over here? Oh yeah, I met in the morning. Like, no, okay, yeah, I'm sure she'll be back.
That's like the end of her that plot. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing else.
But I feel like that's also a very 80s trope, is kind of tuned out parents. Yes. We see it mostly in Mr. Wheeler, who is the best tuned out dad ever. Has zero idea what's going on and just wants to eat his popcorn and fall asleep and just keep the peace in the household. The less I know is better. Yeah,
I got a real Nightmare on Elm Street vibe from the parents of the town. Because it really did just seem that all of them were just like, okay. And that was about it. There's just...
yes. In teaser, Mrs. Wheeler gets a little more to do in season 2.
Well...
I love her in season 2 so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's thirsty. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Yeah, Ted's boring her.
You don't think Ted's getting it done? Yeah, big surprise there. Not with you mean with those amazing glasses? Yeah.
Yes, and his permanent seat in the chair there. Oh.
Yeah, that just has a giant ass dip in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the end, you even see him napping on the lazy boy, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yes. Oh, boy. Where are we? I don't even know where to head from here, Paul.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I guess a good way to kind of bring it back on track, I think it's like episode 3 or maybe 4, where the cover-up is in full effect by this Department of Energy. And we get Will's found, in quotes, at the quarry. And I just want to talk about that because it was one of my main notes I wrote. I thought this was handled so well. That reveal, or what we think is a reveal, with the scoring and the soundtrack and the way that the performances are played off. Like, even us as viewers who know it's bullshit, like, we buy into it, maybe even for a split second, that it's Will. And that is just amazing storytelling.
You already were you suspicious that it was or wasn't, like, on your first watch? Because I definitely at that point was thinking it was going to be playing with, like, the afterlife or something. Okay.
Maybe possibly again revisionist history and giving myself, one of those people saying I knew Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. No, you didn't. Fuck off. But perhaps you're right. But I maybe didn't want to believe that because I just didn't think this type of show would go there, and just kind of. Because I don't know where you go. I guess, I hadn't thought about the afterlife as an option there.
Because when upon rewatching it, I remember that was my perspective. And then there's a specific line that Joyce has when she has the lights and she's asking him questions where she's like, "Are you alive?" So I felt like that was them addressing being like, the body's definitely fake. Like, we're not doing the afterlife thing. Like, this is something that's way beyond that. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So maybe it was in my subsequent watches where I, even knowing that he's alive, that I still felt that scene really pulled off, that it still kind of made me believe again that, oh my God, he's gone. And Hopper just saying, please, is it the kid? Please don't let it be the kid, and it's like, oh my God, like trying to hold back the tears. It's rough.
Oh yeah, when Joyce is in denial, because that's a very real thing when you lose somebody, you go through that denial, and we know her denial is valid, but it's still very similar to any mother's denial. If they heard this from somebody, it was just so heartbreaking every time I watched it.
Yeah, and then of course you have Hopper's connection with him losing a child and saying, I didn't want to accept that, reality got kind of twisted for me too. So
I remember watching I think at the end of episode 3 when it ends with the body being found, and I saw that, and I remember just turning to my wife and just being like, no, that doesn't feel right. Like, there's just something about it was not quite sitting with me, and like I was kind of willing to go with it into episode 4 when they were like really going through it, but I was like, it was almost like that voice in the back of your head just being like, yeah, let's just wait a second. Like, let's see where this goes, because I don't think it's going where it looks like it's going. I mean, to quote a trailer that has been making rounds, this is not going to go the way you think. Yeah, I really did enjoy obviously it turns out again to be another sort of red herring type thing, but the way that they finally show you that it isn't actually Will. Like, the whole lead up to that, when Hopper goes to the morgue and he's sort of building himself up to to actually doing something with the body, and it's just like zoom, arm goes straight in. So, oh, okay. So not only is it not Will, but someone went to extreme length to make people think it was. So
yes, I read like a great blog or something, or post up like how like it's pretty much suspension of disbelief that they were able to get this exact replica of Will made so fast, so quickly. But yeah, let it go. It's a show. But yeah, that's like, they got some pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know if they got some blacklisted Hollywood people there, that or what's going on, making doing their creature works.
Maybe as soon as the kid went missing, they were like, well, we're probably going to need him to turn up dead, otherwise we're going to keep looking for him. So maybe they already were starting on it way before.
I mean, yeah, did they just have like cover-up dolls or whatever, or, mannequins of all ages, and then they just, all right, let's just put the fine touches on the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we need a 10-year-old boy. Okay, one, okay, yeah. We need to
get the makeup artist in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what would be the next good.
Well, the next episode, I know we got to kind of speed things up a little bit. The next episode really, after that, is the Flea and the Acrobat, which is one of my favorite of the first season.
My favorite too, yeah.
Yeah, and you get Mr. Clark really gets to shine in that episode, and I just kind of wanted to know how everyone thought about Mr. Clark. My feelings are he's a great teacher. Like, he's one of those, hopefully everyone has a teacher that they can identify like that, that really kind of got them. But great teacher, horrible to watch a movie with. Oh my God. Who would want to watch a movie with Mr. Clark? He is the worst. Because we all have that friend, or maybe we are that friend sometimes, that, did you know? Shut up. Can we watch the movie? With his lady friend there, whatever that situation was.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
cute.
melted plastic and microwave bubblegum. Yeah.
I took it as he was comforting her, though, because she was scared, and he was like trying to be like, it's all fake.
That's a good way to read it, yeah. But I feel like he does that like every time he has a little factoid watching something.
Yeah, he would probably do that through all movies.
Yeah, probably. Although I got the feeling that she couldn't have cared any less about what film they were watching, because she didn't seem that like distracted by the fact that he would just, so this is all this. She was just staring straight at him rather than the film. So I think he was overthinking in that particular scene. But obviously we didn't get to see any.
Are we saying girlfriend, wife? I didn't see a ring on his finger.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just assume probably lady friend round the evening.
Okay. Yeah, I feel if he's but then we have Dustin. Like, as much as I have established I love Dustin, he does kind of play, I would just say, C block for this, because he does play C block to Mike and Elle at one point too, when he bursts into the bathroom and they're about to kiss for the first time, and then he calls up Mr. Clark while he's working his movie knowledge game, and demands to know how to build a sensory deprivation tank. Yeah. So.
He's a manipulative little kid too.
Yeah. Was it like, why
exactly.
are you? What's the line, Paul? Why are you?
I know.
Not letting us through this knowledge or something.
Why are you trying
just
to close
watched it like 2 hours ago?
The knowledge door or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Dustin.
I think Dustin is definitely the most intelligent of all of the 4 main kids. just in terms of he seemed to be the one that's able to take the long view and then also use what he has learnt to his advantage better than pretty much any of the other characters ever do in the series.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I was trying to think like where to kind of jump to with this, and obviously we mentioned before 11 flinging Lucas across the what is it, like the car graveyard, whatever that area is, just a junkyard, I guess. And again, I think it was so brilliantly written and then performed, that scene, because obviously Mike and Lucas are fighting it out, like they're really going at it. And then the second 11 intervenes and throws Lucas, Mike is like, why did you do that? It's instantly like, hey, we were fighting, you didn't need to get involved, like you didn't need to do that. And everything's forgotten at that point, and Mike is just worried about Lucas. So it was so well done, and something that you don't see very often, I think, in film. Like, no, I don't know how else you could have done that scene. Like, I don't know, what did you guys think about that one?
I mean, it really showed to me, like, that kind of kid friendship that's, like, completely, like, you can be fighting with each other and kind of want to tear each other's head off 1 minute, and then once something, like, starts to get real and you wake up, it's, like, your best friends forever again. Like, that really was clear in that scene to me, of what it's like to be a kid and have your best friend, and, like, that's, nothing else matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and what stuck out to me is that 11 is also a child. And it's like, okay, she's obviously not had the childhood everyone else has. We get those scenes of her looking around Nancy's room, and those are kind of heartbreaking because she sees what a quote-unquote normal childhood looks like. But, and that's it, like, she obviously does not have control of these powers, and she has outbursts like any of these kids do. There's just a lot higher consequences when she does.
Yeah, and that's something that also is something that comes true in season 2. I feel like you really learn how much of a kid she is.
Absolutely,
and I love that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
I kind of got the feeling that during most of Stranger Things season 1, she feels like she's only like 5 years old, really, because everything's so new to her. She hasn't been able to grow up because she's just been groomed for one thing and one thing only. So she's not had any real development as a person. So it was interesting to see her get that during this series, because you can tell by the end, just based on her interactions with the gang, that she's beginning to learn what it is to be someone her age, to have friends, to have people that actually care about you. And it's really interesting. Like this is a TV series which is a horror series set in the 80s with genuinely like really bad stuff coming after these kids and terrible things they had to deal with, and they put such deep stuff in it, like like someone who has had such a tortured childhood that they are still, like, I would say, mentally underdeveloped. Like the friendship between these 4 kids, and they'll do anything for each other and seriously put to the test. The teenagers having to deal with the loss of a friend when you begin to realize who your real friends are. Like, all of this stuff you would never actually see in like a typical 80s like cheesy horror film or cheesy like sci-fi film, and they've been able to write it masterfully into these tropes and
it was nostalgic, but still responsible and accountable for the story.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of. Sorry.
Good. No, you're fine. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
So I don't watch a lot of horror because I just feel like a lot of the times the characters are really underdeveloped, and if they die, I just don't care. I just kind of laugh. I'm like, that's it. You're gone. But this show, I feel like what it does really well is makes you care about every character so much, so that when these things start happening to them, you feel it too, and on a different level than you do for most shows or most movies, even, you can argue. So it feels almost like it's happening to you, almost like it's happening and that you're a part of it. And I feel like that's what the show does really, really well, by developing these really rich, interesting characters that have all these issues and have things going on, and then throw this other huge thing at them and have them deal with that. I just think they do that really, really well.
I couldn't agree more. It's one of the reasons why I go back to it, and one of the reasons why it's, I think, one of the better things to introduce people to, I don't know, at least for me personally, like, it's definitely one of those talking points. Like I said earlier, like, if you're not on board with Stranger Things, like, oh, okay, I really have to question your taste. But so, I mean, that's not entirely fair. Like, yes, everyone has things that work for them and don't. But that being said, it's tough to see how part of this doesn't work for someone. So
yeah. Now, obviously, in this series, they very, very, very briefly touch on what is assumed to be, but not confirmed as of yet, Eleven's genuine backstory. Like,
yes, thank you. That was my only remaining note.
And so we find out that what probably happens, as of this series, what probably happened is that this woman called Terry Ives goes through the MK Ultra project, and she happened to be pregnant at the time, and she says that she gave birth and the baby was taken away, but everyone else said, well, no, she miscarried. So Joyce and Hopper kind of say to themselves that 11 is probably this kid. But again, in this series, absolutely nothing is confirmed. It's just something that's thrown in there, and you had to make your own conclusion at this point. So did you guys decide, okay, yeah, this actually is what happened, or did you have the skepticism there of, are they kind of throwing a red herring again in our direction after two other red herrings?
I'll let you go first, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was pretty sure at that point that that was the daughter. I think I knew that nothing was confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that I was like, well, they wouldn't put that in there without that there being a reason, and I feel like that would have been the reason.
Yeah.
But I definitely found the whole thing very just heartbreaking, just watching like the actress that played her supposed mother, I guess we'll say, is incredible.
I wasn't sure on like first watch I knew that's what they were kind of pointing me to, but I was cautious and didn't know if it was, like you said, a misdirection, like you were saying, or possibly, not to get too spoilery for season 2, but shut your ears if you haven't seen season 2 yet. If it was another child in this program, and just a slightly less misdirection there. But subsequent viewings, obviously it was very clear that no, 11 is Jane. And what oh my God, what a tragic and like heartbreaking character. It's played really well, but like, oh my God, that's the thing about the show. It's like it has really light moments and fun moments, and then you get these like really deep and kind of very tragic moments as well.
And then so you've got that like really tragic and kind of hits you hard moment, and like you feel really sorry for 11, and then 11 kind of gets a badass moment at the end of that episode as well, when she saved Mike from like dying and falling off the cliff. Well, as it falls.
Yep. And, in the bully confrontation,
I think that there are many great scenes and great moments throughout the series, but I genuinely think that 11 turning up and saving Mike is my favorite moment in the series, because you finally got all of those characters back together again. 11's like really using her powers at this point, like specifically to save someone and not just attack. So, and obviously the bullies get the comeuppance, which is always fun. But yeah, I thought it was a great... And then, of course, you've got Dustin with sort of the topper at the end, where it was just... isn't it like, yeah, she's our friend, and she's crazy?
He's just so good.
I love
Katie's
that
so
line.
good.
I love that line.
He's amazing. I love him so much.
No, I think up to that point, 11 had so much guilt, and I think finally it was Mike being like, no, like, you're a hero. Like, you can use your powers for good, because all this time, 11, all she's known is just to use them for bad, in a way. So I think she really was filled with so much guilt up until that point, because she just been through so much.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, Matthew Modine wanted her to, like, blow up a cat or whatever, with her, like, Jesus. Like,
I know.
That was, fucked up shit.
I mean, even with, like, everything else, obviously he's got a very set goal in mind for what 11 and possibly others can do with their powers. But what was that test? The test of just harm a cat? Like, how is that helpful?
Or was it or was it secretly an ethics test? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it was, but
Well, no, since he was
interesting.
apparently she failed because she had ethics. I don't know.
Well, I have no idea. Or just to test her limits. I don't know. But
probably to test her limits. But you think you would test, and like, I'm not an advocate for harming any animals at all, but like, you think you would test on something smaller, like a mouse or something like that.
Yeah, sort of with like a frog or something. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that was a pretty big cat.
Yeah, and you're a kid, and most kids are gonna be like, "Ooh, fluffy animal." Yeah, like, okay, probably don't want to kill that.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I hate the idea of cruelty towards animals, so that scene had that on it as well. But I even trying to toss that out the side, I just don't get it. Like, I can't think of a single reason for that.
Their whole relationship, and then I know we get into it again in season 2, but that how manipulative that relationship is just really kind of bothers me to my core. Just how he plays on her emotions, and I need you to get into the tank again and do this, and
On the first watch, like, did you assume that Papa was her actual dad? Because I did.
I think I believe so. I think I was like, okay, that's because she Papa.
So I didn't know if
Papa.
that
I have
made
no
it
evidence to
more-
the contrary. Yeah.
I don't know if that made it more messed up or less, but like, that was definitely, when I first watched, I thought that was their sort of relationship. And I know that the character that plays 11, Millie, she said in the interview in the Stranger Things, after the one that I did see, that she thinks of him as 11 as Papa, like that she thinks that they have the father-daughter relationship, which I thought was a really interesting way to play it, because you don't see that at all, but maybe that's something that they'll explore in the future a little bit more.
Yeah, and I
think so.
I don't think I ever thought that he was her biological father, but I absolutely bought that he placed himself into her life as her father. Like, I was like, this is someone who is just like, oh, yes, I'm your dad, and as your dad, I would love to ask you to get in that sedentary deprivation tank right now. Go ahead. Go on. Go. It's just, I mentioned him at the beginning. He's the guy that you love to watch because you just want to punch him in the face. Like, it's just...
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just those power dynamics that are just so overwhelmingly problematic of just, I'm going to manipulate and play on this kind of reward system, and you can have this thing if you do this awful thing for me. It's so terrible, but played beautifully by Matthew Modine.
Yes, very much so. All right, kind of coming into the end then, as we are... obviously, you've got the fantastic and almost obligatory kids cycling away from danger scene, and obviously 11 flipping the car, which is probably, I would say, the most iconic image from the first trailer that they did. Like, when they had the Netflix trailer.
I was trying to think, is that maybe the biggest stunt from the first? That has to be the biggest stunt from season 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else was, obviously not talking, but practically, not talking CG. That was, I do remember that from that trailer. And
I remember, like, I was rewatching it, and I even still gasped again when she lifted the truck. I was like, I knew it was coming, but I still was just like, oh, still so epic.
Yeah, and like I said in the the scene before when she says Mike, like, obviously that's her like really using her power to save him, but this is like that's the next time you see her like dedicated to breaking away from where she was, and she's obviously defying Papa at this point and just flipping that van. It was such a joy to see both times. Obviously the first time I kind of knew it might be coming just because I saw the trailer. And I remember stupid stuff like that. I wish I didn't, but I do. But then, the second time I was like, okay, she's going to flip the trucks, and there it goes. I could probably...
Yeah, this one, it's pretty great. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. And I'm just trying to think. I know, looking forward to Thursday, but just, I love, not saying I don't love that, but I just think of where season 2 goes, and I don't even think something like that would register in season 2. Maybe a little bit, but yeah, we'll get there soon enough. But yeah, obviously things wrap up here with the final battle, with kind of all three storylines kind of gelling together here. With the go ahead.
I would say obviously the boys and 11 and Nancy and Joyce, they all get to the school. They go into the central deprivation tank, and episode 7 is where we do find out Barb's ultimate fate, which was not a pretty sight.
No. Sorry, Barb.
Poor Barb.
And, to a lesser, I think we need to give a shout out to Benny, too, as the other innocent casualty of this. Yeah. Benny, who got one in the back of the head for just being nice and feeding a starving kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Benny and Barb,
poor Benny.
Too.
Pour out a little for both of you. Okay.
Yeah, I did think that the dispatching of Benny was a great way of showing just how much of a threat that the organization that was trying to find 11 was. Because obviously, shadowy government agency, they're trying to get their stuff back, and you're like, okay, but this is, they genuinely just shot a man because they're fairly certain that 11 was there. Like, they don't even get confirmation, I think. It's just like,
in a small town where everyone talks and like everyone, they're like, nope, I'm just gonna kill him,
and then when Hopper finds him and he's like, the other cop's like, oh, you must be like a real big city cop now, and he's like, yeah, but the people that I used to find weren't my friends, and that's when you realize like how big of an impact like Benny must have had on the town. Everyone
he seemed like such a good dude.
I know.
Poor Benny. Justice for Benny and Barb.
Yeah. Justice for Benny and Barb.
I know. It's not right.
I do kind of feel bad that there was no Justice for Benny hashtag now. It was all Barb, just because everyone seemed to like it. Oh, I think we could get it trending.
if you have a time machine, perhaps, but I think have you seen Twitter's attention span recently?
No, I have not.
I think we're fighting an uphill battle there. Mm-hmm.
There's other characters we had justice for in season 2 that we're focusing on now.
Oh yes, big spoiler tease there. Yes, we'll get into that. But yeah, do we want to quickly wrap up the finale here?
Yes, I think so. Obviously, towards the end, all of the shadowy government agencies is in the school, and 11 finally makes her choice that she wants to be with her friends and not her papa. And in the biggest display of her powers, dispatches everyone. Like just
nasty. Yeah, she does like a whole Groot in the hallway move, just boom, drops him.
Almost an
I forgot about that.
With the so I guess that was hashtag Justice for Benny, because that was the woman that shot Benny.
Yeah,
and she got her like eyes like hemorrhaged or whatever. So a little bit.
That was probably the scariest moment for 11's character of just being like of her use of power and seeing how powerful she actually is. Because that whole time it was mostly just like breaking necks and like more physical stuff, whereas this was like actually pretty much like making somebody explode from the inside.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to believe like she probably had, or you would assume had not used her powers to that extent before. So she may have not known if that was going to kill her, if that was, her last course of action, but she knew that regardless of whatever happened, that was the only thing to do. Yeah, it had to be terrifying for her, but that's 11 for you.
Yep. And then
friends don't lie, and friends blow up your enemies. So yeah,
that's true friendship.
Yeah.
And then you do get the final showdown against the Demagorgon with the the wrist rocket, was that the name of it? Lucas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And obviously you had this whole build up where like it was like, oh, he's collecting all the stones, and then you had a scene like episode 4 or something where they're like, yeah, that one's the demon killer or whatever it is, and so and then
and see, this is the go ahead.
To say like, and then he get down to that rock and he fires it, and it seems to work. And then you realize, nope, this is 11 again. It was such a great sort of ending to her character arc.
Well, I just wanted to point out the wrist rocket as another one of those homages to It and Pennywise. Yeah. Was anyone else thinking of that?
I was thinking maybe they would somehow find a hidden eye on the Demagorgon and like hit it with their up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely had shades of that. But yeah, then like you said, then 11. Quick recovery time this time around for 11. Yeah. But
I think I felt like this was her like basically tapping the well. She was going out with this one, and obviously she kind of does. Although I did see. And this was like a month after the series aired, and I'd seen everything. I saw something which was sort of a conspiracy theory, as it were, which is that 11 and that Demagorgon were sort of one and the same. And I wasn't like, obviously getting into season 2, we can see where that may fall apart. But just using this, there's some real parallels, and also the Demagorgon only knew about this world thanks to 11's intervention, and they seem to kind of switch places every now and again. So it's really, it was a really interesting theory to nail down, and I felt like there was definitely a connection of some kind. I didn't think that 11 was the Demagorgon, but I felt like there was some sort of link between the two of them.
But do you think Brand is the Night King? Do you think Brand is the Night King? I know you don't get that, Paul. Okay.
I don't, but I'm just gonna say yes.
Yes. Ooh, okay. Hot take from Paul. All right. Okay. So, Janelle, I'm assuming you're not a Thrones watcher?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm on my own here.
Yeah, just pick a yes or no, really. There's only 2 answers.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like I can go wrong.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, on that point of 11 possibly being the Demagorgon or them being connected, I feel like they were kind of leading us toward that in season 1, because there's a lot of her being like, the gate, I opened it, it's my fault, it's there, and like, that was her when she went in the sensory deprivation tank. Like she saw it, she made a connection with it. Like there's always a connection there. So after season 2, I definitely have additional theories on that. But at the end of season 1, I felt like that was what they were leading you toward, is that they had this deep connection.
Yeah.
I was probably a little slower on that, but it probably took me another watch to get there.
Yeah.
To definitely put that together.
I think they probably were aware that something like that would be drawn if they weren't specifically going for that, which makes me think that I don't know if they already formed season 2 when they made season 1, but maybe it changed the way they did something or whatever, and we'll get into that in a couple of days when we record season 2. But yeah, I think it was a really cool way of looking at it, And then obviously we do have the very end where you have, as we said earlier, Nancy and Steve are back together, and I will say I said to my wife at the time, like, I am a bit disappointed that they got back together. I wasn't specifically thinking that Nancy and Jonathan should end up together, but I was a little disappointed in Nancy going back to Steve. But thinking more on it, it does kind of fit in with her character. She does kind of seem to be the person that would want to be in a relationship and would fall back into that.
I mean, he was awful to her. Are we forgetting that?
Oh, no, I'm not.
I mean, yeah, he didn't, like, spy on her, which is terrible. But, like, what, he called her a slut?
I believe so.
Aided and abetted defacing a movie marquee to, slut shame her by himself. Like,
but
he's
he
the only one she
washed it
slept
off
with.
after.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
what he should have done. I know your team, Steve, Janelle. I'm sorry.
I know.
We're
He's not
attacking your boy.
He's not the best, but in my defense, his big moment for me that like made it turn around for me is so when Jonathan and Nancy are about to fight the Demagorgon, and Steve. Nancy's basically like, get out of here, we don't need you, you're just causing trouble, like, get out of this house. And he's about to leave, he runs out, and him running away, by the way, is like hilarious.
Yeah.
And he like goes to his car, and then he like he makes the choice to go back for Nancy, even though he knows he doesn't have like any weapons, doesn't have anything. Like, he's literally just there for her. And that's why I'm team Steve all the way.
No, I'm converted. Like, I'm still torn. He's still slightly problematic, but so is Jonathan. So, I don't have as big of an issue with Steve as I did my first run through on this show. But even before that, I think he starts his redemptive arc when he visits Nancy practicing her bat swings. And, it's just like, let's go to a movie, get away from everything for a couple hours. And I do think he's attempting to try to, put things back on track there. So I'll cut him some slack there. And then also in that scene, we get a little bit of, I guess you can't really call it foreshadowing because it wasn't written. I don't know if it was written yet, but the Tom Cruise and risky business that we might see in season 2. So, spoiler, we will. but yeah, I was having having an argument with a discussion with a friend saying, no, she's dressed like Rebecca De Mornay. No, she isn't. Yes, she is. Pulled up a picture. Yeah, yep, there she is. From that, with the bow and Okay, we'll get there Thursday. We'll rehash all that. I did have a quick question with kind of, I think it's one of the last moments in the finale is Hopper taking food from the Christmas party, the police, station Christmas party, and then putting it in that lockbox in the woods. And I don't know if this is a spoilery discussion for season 2. Maybe we need to wait till we go into that. And if I missed something in season 2, but how does he know?
I think I do think it is touched on very.
Do we need to
very
save?
briefly.
Do we need to save this for our next record?
I think so. I think it.
Yeah, I think that's a season 2.
Okay, because I really talked with a couple other people that really are better at paying attention than I am, and they were also a little confused as to how he. Okay, so yeah, we'll get there. Okay, yeah. I need that straightened out. You two need to straighten that out for me on our next episode.
And then obviously the final scene where Will's home and he ends up going to the bathroom and coughing up the slug, and everything's upside down for a second and then back. I thought a fantastic ending, and because they hadn't announced season 2 at that point, but the second that was over, I was like, they're gonna make more. They better make more.
Yep. And it darts down the sink.
Yes, it does.
It darts down the.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like it might be a thread to pick up on again.
It might be a good place to leave things. Janelle, did we miss on any points of discussion or any juicy bits or funny bits you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of my notes are just like, I love Hopper.
I love Hopper's great. Yeah.
I think the one of the things that we don't really talk about too much is his ability to really get out of any situation by just punching somebody, which I really appreciate.
Yes. I love that tropey, just one punch. Let's get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hopper, obviously, we'll definitely be talking more about him in a couple of days, but Hopper is such a great character and so well played. So, the only other thing that I've got here is we did ask people if they wanted to say any thoughts on Stranger Things, and we got one reply. So thank you very much to the Full Start podcast at Full Start Pod. They said, I thought it was wonderful. So happy to have Winona back on our screens in the 80s where she belongs. The kid actors are fantastic too, especially Finn and Millie, who do a lot of heavy lifting. Yes, it's very nod nod wink wink, but it's so well told that I don't care. So there you go.
I would agree with everything there. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
80s Winona is the best Winona, and yep, she got to rehash things here. So yeah, that was wonderful to see.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's probably the best place to end this one on. So thank you very much for coming back on, Janelle. We will talk to you again very soon.
Yes, in January 20th, correct? Your movie?
Yes, the first episode will be out.
The first episode, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, January 20th of Eclipse, and you can find all the information on my Twitter at Janelle Meghan.
Absolutely, and if you've waited for episode 2 to come out, go ahead and just start that one right about now.
All right,
but till then, Paul, any last words?
I don't think I have any last words on Stranger Things or anything. I will very quickly go over our contact information in case you feel like you want to get a hold of us, which would be lovely if you did, really. You can find us on Twitter at Blockbusters, Facebook.com/Blockbusters, Instagram at Blockbusters, you can email us blockbusterpodcast@gmail.com, and we have a website, blockbusters.web.com, or you can go to podroad.com and find us on there, because it does look a little nicer, but hey, they probably pay for it, so there you go. So, with all that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been Brian.
And she's been Janelle.
And she's been Janelle.
I wasn't aware of the sign-off, sorry.
No, that's all right. We threw a curve at you.
Yeah, we did. Right. So, see you, folks.
See ya.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.